Let me ask you something personal, not with judgment, but with purpose. Have you ever had the strange feeling that something big is about to happen in your life? Not based on what you see, not because your bank account says so, not because the circumstances are perfect, but because deep in your soul there's a whisper, get ready. You wake up and something feels different. You don't know how to explain it to your friends, to your family, maybe even to yourself. But you just know the tide is turning. Now listen carefully, because when God gets ready to bless you, I mean really elevate you, he doesn't send an email. He doesn't post it on your feed. He starts showing you signs. And they don't always look like blessings. Sometimes they look like loss. Sometimes they feel like pressure. Sometimes they feel like nothing is happening at all. But something is happening. There is a shift in the spirit. A divine alignment is taking place. And when God puts his hand on your life, you won't need to chase anything. You will begin to see 5 signs, clear, undeniable, and powerful, that mark the beginning of your blessing season. And if you ignore them, you'll miss the moment. But if you recognize them, you will walk into rooms you weren't invited to. You will receive favor you didn't earn. You will become the person you were always meant to be. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what those 5 signs are, how to see them, how to align with them, and how to walk boldly into the life God already has prepared for you. Because when heaven says it's your time, nothing on earth can stop it. Let's begin. Let me take you into a moment that most people overlook. A moment that doesn't come with loud applause, flashing lights, or fireworks. It comes quietly, almost like a whisper in the dark. It comes in the stillness of your mind, in the soft hush of your soul. And for many people, it feels confusing. But it is the first, most powerful sign that God is getting ready to bless you. It is the calm before the storm of success. It is a deep, unshakable inner peace that settles inside of you without reason, without logic, without explanation. You may be in a place in your life where nothing around you has changed. The bills are still due. The obstacles are still there. The people who doubted you haven't gone silent. But something within you begins to shift. There is a calm you didn't work for, a peace you didn't buy, a confidence that doesn't come from your resume or your reputation. It simply is, and it defies the reality around you. This is not just ordinary peace. It is the evidence of spiritual alignment. It is the first wave of a supernatural confirmation that something is being worked out behind the scenes. It is a signature from the heavens that God has already spoken over your life, and what he has spoken cannot be undone. When this calm arrives, you stop panicking over time. You stop measuring your worth by how much you've accomplished or how far you still have to go. Something inside of you begins to say, I may not be there yet, but I'm no longer who I was. This inner calm is sacred. It does not scream for attention. It doesn't demand that others recognize it. It doesn't beg for validation. It simply rests. And when you are resting in that kind of peace, you are no longer driven by desperation. You are led by destiny. You begin to understand that the race is not always run by speed, but by direction. The blessing is not always found in the noise of achievement, but in the stillness of trust. People around you might ask, why are you so calm right now? They might say, you should be more worried, more afraid, more stressed. But they don't know what you know. They don't feel what you feel. They haven't heard the quiet call inside your soul that says, be still. I've got this. You begin to let go of things you used to obsess over. You don't force outcomes anymore. You allow them because you trust that what is meant for you will find you. Now here's the deeper truth most people miss. God rarely starts with the visible. He starts with the invisible. He doesn't first change your life around you. He changes your life within you. Before he puts the blessing in your hands, he puts the confidence in your heart. Before he opens new doors, he opens new levels of awareness. Before he brings new people, he creates space by removing the fear of being alone. This calm is the signal that you are becoming You are stepping into alignment. And when you are in alignment, you no longer wrestle with time the same way. You don't rush the process because you realize that your development is part of the blessing. The preparation is proof that something is on the way. You begin to understand that God is not only preparing the blessing for you, He's preparing you for the blessing. It is no longer about control. It is about surrender. You give up the need to force things to happen, and instead you focus on being ready when they do. You start working from a place of rest. You grind, but you're not desperate. You hustle, but you're not anxious. You move, but you're not chasing. The difference is this. You now know that what's yours can't be taken, delayed, or destroyed. It's already set aside with your name on it. What happens next is powerful. You begin to radiate something different. People feel it. They may not understand it, but they can sense it. There's a quiet power in you, a magnetic certainty. You no longer need to prove anything because you've already decided who you are. That's when the real shift happens. Your energy changes. Your words carry more weight. Your decisions become more precise, and the world around you starts to respond to the calm within you. This is the peace that precedes the promotion, the silence before the celebration, the stillness before the storm of success. It is the sign that the foundation has been laid, that the seed has taken root, even if the tree has not yet broken the ground. And while others are frantically digging for answers, you're standing still knowing that the rain is coming, and when it does, you'll be ready. Not surprised, not unprepared, but ready. So when you feel that peace, when it settles over you without warning, don't question it. Don't dismiss it. Honor it. Sit with it. That calm is not laziness. It is not inaction. It is a sign of trust, a sign of favor, a sign that something divine is shifting in your direction. It is the first gift before the blessing arrives, and once you've felt it, you'll never chase chaos again, because once you've known the calm of divine alignment, you'll recognize it as the whisper of heaven saying, "Get ready, I'm about to show you what I can do." There comes a time in your journey when everything begins to shift, not because you've suddenly become smarter or more qualified, but because you've entered a new spiritual rhythm. It happens quietly at first, subtly, but soon it becomes undeniable. People start to show up in your life that you didn't look for. Opportunities begin to knock that you didn't chase. Conversations begin to carry new weight. Invitations begin to appear where doors used to be shut. This is not random. This is alignment. This is a sign that God is orchestrating something beyond your human effort. You start to realize that the season of isolation, of being overlooked, of being in the background, was never a punishment. It was preparation. And now, because you've stayed the course, because you've grown in the dark, the world begins to respond to what's been building in you all along. There's a magnetic pull that happens when your heart, your mind, and your spirit are aligned with your purpose. You no longer need to chase things because the right things begin to recognize your frequency. This isn't about luck. It's not even about hard work alone. It's about being in divine alignment. The right people begin to come into your life, not just anyone, but the right ones. People who speak your language. People who see your value without needing a resume. People who believe in your vision before it's even fully formed. These are people with keys. People who don't just encourage you, they open doors for you. And when this begins to happen, it may feel sudden, but it is not sudden to God. He's been arranging it all along, waiting for you to be ready to receive it. It's a strange feeling at first. After being in seasons where you had to fight for every inch, every moment of progress, the sudden flow of favor feels unfamiliar. You might even question it. You might wonder, why now? Why me? But when God aligns people and opportunities in your life, it's not because you're lucky, it's because you're ready. Not perfect, but positioned. Not flawless, but faithful. You've been consistent when it didn't pay off. You've shown up when nobody was watching. You've done the internal work, And now the external world is responding. Sometimes the opportunities come through people you already know. Someone suddenly sees you differently. Someone from your past reaches out with an open door. A conversation you had months ago bears fruit you never expected. And other times, the people who show up are complete strangers, yet they seem to carry exactly what you need. A new client, a new partner, a mentor, a connector, someone who says, I don't know why, but I feel led to help you. That's not random. That's alignment. You may begin to notice synchronicities. You think of someone and they call, you write down a dream, and within days you meet someone who can help you achieve it. You stumble across the exact information, resources, or contacts that propel you forward. It may feel coincidental, but it's not. Coincidence is just God's way of staying anonymous. What you're experiencing is divine coordination, timing that can't be explained, that cannot be denied. In these moments, it's important to stay grounded. Not every opportunity is the right one. Not every open door leads to your destination. Discernment becomes crucial. Part of the blessing is not just what comes into your life, but what you now have the wisdom to say no to. Because when you are truly aligned, your spirit can feel what your eyes can't yet see. You begin to trust your instincts more because they're no longer just instincts, they're divine nudges. What's also remarkable is how the energy around you begins to change. People treat you differently, not because you've changed externally, but because you carry something new. There's an aura about someone who is aligned with divine purpose. It's not arrogance. It's clarity. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know why I'm here, and I know where I'm going. That kind of energy draws things to you. It commands attention without speaking. It invites blessings without begging. This alignment doesn't always mean ease. Sometimes the opportunities that come will stretch you. They'll challenge you to rise to a new level. They'll call you out of your comfort zone. But here's the truth. The opportunities that scare you are often the ones that grow you. And when they come during a season of divine alignment, you will find that you are more prepared than you realize. The skills you learned in obscurity, the discipline you developed in silence, all come into play. There will also be moments when the doors that open don't make logical sense. You'll find yourself in rooms you didn't campaign to enter. You'll receive favor that surpasses your qualification. You'll be selected for things you didn't apply for. This is when you know it's not just you moving. God is moving through you. He's speaking for you in meetings you weren't invited to. He's arranging outcomes before you even pray for them. That is not just blessing. That is divine alignment. While all this is happening, something inside of you will whisper, this is what I was made for. It won't feel forced. It will feel like flow. It won't drain you. It will energize you. That is how you know you're in alignment. You're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving in your calling. You're being pulled by vision rather than pushed by fear. The weight lifts. The clarity comes, and the path ahead begins to unfold one aligned step at a time. When God begins to bless your life, it doesn't always feel like addition. Often it feels like subtraction. Not because something has gone wrong, but because something is finally going right. When elevation comes, separation usually comes first. You'll begin to lose people. Habits will start to fall away. Environments that once felt comfortable will start to feel foreign. It's not rejection. It's not punishment. It's realignment. And it's one of the clearest signs that God is shifting you into a new dimension of purpose. This process is quiet at first. You don't always notice it immediately, but then something happens. You start to feel distant from the people who used to understand you. Conversations that once energized you now drain you. You try to fit into old places, but something feels off. What once felt like home now feels like confinement. It's not that those people or places became bad. It's that you're no longer the same. Growth has a way of changing your spiritual address. and not everyone gets forwarded to where you're going, you may begin to feel lonely, isolated, misunderstood. You'll question what's happening. You'll ask yourself if you're becoming cold or disconnected. But it's not emotional distance. It's spiritual evolution. You're becoming who you were, always meant to be, and that version of you can't carry everything the old you carried. There are conversations you can no longer entertain. There are relationships you can no longer maintain. And there are behaviors you can no longer sustain. God is making room for your blessing. And to receive it fully, you have to let go of the weight that kept you grounded. Some of these losses hurt. There's no way around it. You may lose people who once meant the world to you. Friends who walked with you through years of life. People who were part of your everyday world. But now, they no longer speak your language. The connection that once flowed effortlessly begins to feel forced. Misunderstandings happen more often. You feel unseen, unheard. That's when you must remember. Some people are chapters, not the whole story. They were part of your development, but they're not meant to be part of your destiny. When God blesses you, He does not allow attachments that compromise your future to survive. He will strip away what you won't walk away from. That's not cruelty, that's protection. He sees what you cannot. He knows who is truly for you and who is only for what you can do for them. He knows who's draining your purpose, even if they're smiling in your presence. And so in His mercy, He allows the shaking to begin, the distancing, the disconnection, so that when the blessing arrives, you're surrounded only by what can hold it with you. It's not just people. Habits begin to die. You no longer find pleasure in what once gave you comfort. The distractions, the time wasters, the numbing behaviors, they lose their grip on you. You try to go back to them, but they don't satisfy anymore. That's the sign of a spiritual detox. God is cleaning your appetite so you can crave something higher. He's weaning you off of cheap substitutes so you can taste the richness of real purpose. You'll notice your discipline increasing. You'll start choosing growth over gratification, silence over noise, intentionality over impulse. That doesn't mean you become perfect overnight, but it does mean that the more you move in alignment, the more your old patterns lose their power. You start building new habits. You wake up with a deeper sense of responsibility. You begin to respect your time, your energy, and your space more than ever before. That's because your life is no longer about survival. It's about stewardship. And then there are the places, environments that once made you feel alive, that now feel toxic. You walk into rooms that used to light you up, and now you feel out of place. It could be a workplace, a social circle, or even your hometown. The atmosphere feels heavy, outdated. You try to shrink yourself to fit in, but your soul won't let you. That discomfort isn't arrogance. It's confirmation. You're not supposed to stay where you've outgrown. You're not better than the place. You're just different now. And difference is often the bridge to destiny. The real challenge in this season is not the loss. It's your willingness to surrender. Can you let go of what's no longer serving you without needing a detailed explanation? Can you trust that subtraction is not a step backward, but a setup for multiplication? It takes courage to walk away from what's familiar, but blessings don't live in comfort zone. They live in clarity, in obedience, in sacrifice. You will grieve during this process. There will be days when you feel the weight of what you had to release. There will be moments when you miss the simplicity of who you used to be. But don't confuse grief with regression. You're not going backward, you're shedding. And everything you're losing is creating space for everything that's on the way. The silence you feel, that's not emptiness, it's preparation. The space you feel inside your heart, that's not loneliness, that's capacity. What you're experiencing is a holy reset. The clutter is being cleared. The distractions are being removed. The fake is falling away. And what's left is truth, raw, refined, and ready. You fully becoming. And when the blessing arrives, you'll recognize why the loss had to come first. Because God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. He blesses who you truly are. And sometimes He has to strip everything that hid your truth just so you can finally see yourself clearly. There comes a moment in your journey when things no longer make sense. You've done everything right, or at least you've tried. You've worked hard, stayed focused, remained consistent. And yet, the results haven't shown up in the way you imagined. The timelines you set have expired. The support you once relied on has grown quiet. The path ahead looks foggy, uncertain, unpredictable. And yet, something inside of you refuses to give up. Something won't let you quit. That something is faith, and not just ordinary faith, a deep, unshakable faith that is forged not in victory, but in the fire of uncertainty. This is the kind of faith that develops when you've been knocked down more times than you can count, but still choose to rise. When doors keep closing and you still have the courage to knock again, when people walk away and you keep walking forward anyway, when nothing seems to be working, yet you refuse to believe that nothing is happening. It's a quiet fire in your soul that whispers, keep going, when logic screams, give up. Unshakable faith doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't grow in convenience. It's built in the trenches. It's carved out of seasons of silence, formed in the furnace of frustration, developed through disappointment. It shows up when the visible evidence says no, but the invisible assurance inside you says not yet. It is this kind of faith that transforms people, not because they're the most talented or the most connected, but because they simply would not stop believing. When God begins to bless your life, He often does it in ways that stretch your belief. He doesn't just give you the promise. He first allows your faith to grow strong enough to carry it. Because if the blessing is big, the foundation must be deep. An unshakable faith is the foundation that holds everything together when the winds of life blow hard. It is the inner anchor that keeps you grounded when everything around you feels unstable. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop begging for signs. You stop demanding explanations. Instead, you learn to move forward with trust even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's when you realize faith isn't about knowing exactly how everything will unfold. It's about believing that it will, even if you don't know when, where, or how. That kind of belief isn't naive. It's powerful. It doesn't deny the difficulty. It defies it. You begin to operate differently. You take steps without needing the whole staircase. You speak life even when you're surrounded by silence. You keep showing up to the work, the vision, the dream, even when nobody is clapping. Not because it's easy, but because something deeper is driving you. Faith becomes your fuel. And unlike motivation, which comes and goes, faith is sustainable. It carries you through dry seasons, through dark valleys, through the long nights when the dream feels far away. People around you may not understand. They'll wonder why you haven't quit yet, why you keep holding on, why you continue to invest, to create, to plan, to build when the evidence isn't matching the expectation. But what they don't see is the divine assurance you carry. You've touched something real in your spirit. You've felt the whisper of God telling you, I'm not finished yet. And once you've heard that, you can't unhear it. Once you've received that internal confirmation, no amount of external delay can break you. There's a shift that happens when faith becomes unshakable. You stop praying small prayers. You stop shrinking your vision to fit other people's comfort zones. You stop measuring your future by your past. Instead, you begin to speak differently. You declare things not based on what you see, but on what you believe. You move as if it's already done. You prepare as if the door is already open. You train like the opportunity is already waiting. This kind of faith doesn't need an audience. It doesn't perform for validation. It operates quietly, steadily, consistently. It's what wakes you up early and keeps you going late. It's what whispers strength when your body is tired and your mind is full of doubt. It's what allows you to keep sowing seeds even when the soil looks barren, because you know the harvest isn't canceled. It's just delayed. And eventually, things begin to shift. The ground starts to move. The doors begin to open. The calls start coming in. And people will say, it happened overnight. But they didn't see the years of faith you held in silence. They didn't see the days you walked in darkness with your head held high. They didn't hear the prayers you whispered when nobody else was listening. That is the power of unshakable faith. It builds in the background. It moves mountains quietly. You'll look back and realize that what got you there wasn't perfect strategy or flawless execution. It was the refusal to quit. It was the ability to believe when everything else said stop. It was the strength to stay faithful to a vision that hadn't manifested yet. That's what faith really is. Acting like it's already yours. Because in your spirit, you know it is. You stop needing the world to approve it. You've already received confirmation from a higher source. And when the blessing does arrive, it doesn't surprise you. It humbles you, but it doesn't shock you. Because you knew. You always knew. You believed when nobody else did. You stood firm when everything told you to sit down. And now you walk in what you once could only see in your spirit. That's not luck. That's faith fulfilled. There are moments in life when all of your striving, all of your strategic planning, all of your careful networking and tireless effort pale in comparison to what happens when God steps in. One of the most powerful signs that you are walking into a season of divine blessing is that doors begin to open. Doors you didn't knock on, rooms you didn't campaign to enter, tables you didn't beg to sit at. Things begin to move at a speed that logic cannot explain. That is not just favor. It is divine acceleration. It is the unmistakable signature of God moving on your behalf. This kind of movement is unlike anything you've experienced before. You're used to working for every inch of progress, used to setbacks, used to pushing and pulling and hustling to make something happen. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, things begin to shift. You receive the call you weren't expecting. The email comes in from someone you've never met. An opportunity drops in your lap that seems too perfectly timed to be random. That's not coincidence. That's orchestration. God is opening doors that no human effort could have pried open. It often begins when you've reached the end of yourself. After all the pushing, after all the plans have failed or stalled, when you finally surrendered the outcome and said, God, if this is going to happen, it has to be you, that's when the miraculous begins. Divine acceleration doesn't come when you're at your strongest. It comes when you're surrendered. When you stop forcing things and start trusting the process, when you stop trying to manipulate the path and simply follow the steps God lays out, that's when the speed changes. The shift doesn't always make sense at first. You may feel like you skipped a step. You might question, why me? Why now? You may look at others who have worked just as hard and wonder why your time has come before theirs. But favor doesn't follow formulas. It flows through obedience and timing. And when your time arrives, no delay, no doubt, no enemy can stop it. What God has ordained, no one can deny. Doors begin to open that you didn't even know existed. You thought you had mapped out all the roads. You thought you had explored every option. But then something appears that wasn't on your radar at all. And not only is it aligned with your purpose, it's better than anything you could have planned. That's how divine acceleration works. It doesn't just give you what you asked for. It gives you what you didn't even know to ask for. It can feel overwhelming. You're moving faster than you thought you were ready for. The opportunities feel too big. The stage feels too public. The responsibility feels too weighty. But here's the truth. God wouldn't open the door if you weren't ready to walk through it. You may not feel ready in your mind, but your spirit has been preparing for this moment for a long time. Everything you've been through, the failures, the delays, the private battles, was preparation for this suddenly season. In this season, people may begin to notice you in ways they never did before. They'll assume something must have changed recently, but the truth is you've been doing the work in the shadows for years. What's changed is not your value, but your visibility. The light has found you because the time is right, and the doors that are opening are not because of who you know or what you've done. They're because of who you are becoming. You'll begin to see how previous no's were actually divine protection. You'll look back and thank God for the doors that didn't open, the deals that didn't go through, the people who walked away, because now you see that if those things had worked out, they would have limited you. They would have anchored you to a level beneath your calling. Divine acceleration doesn't just move you forward, it lifts you higher than you would have dared to go on your own. There will be moments of tension. The temptation will arise to downplay your progress, to dim your light, to question whether you deserve it. But this is not the time to shrink. This is the time to rise to the level of your assignment. If God has accelerated your path, it's because your impact is needed now, not later. There are people waiting on the other side of your obedience. There are lives connected to your breakthrough, and the faster you embrace your new season, the more you'll be able to help others step into theirs. Divine acceleration doesn't mean you skip the process. It means the process becomes supernaturally efficient. You still have to show up, still have to prepare, still have to steward the blessing, but the results begin to outpace the effort. What used to take years now takes months. What you once struggled to build suddenly flourishes with ease. Doors don't just open, they swing wide. And you realize that this isn't your doing alone. It's the evidence of grace working in real time. This season will stretch you. You'll be asked to make decisions faster, to step into roles that feel intimidating, to walk by faith more than ever. But the same God who opened the door will also equip you to handle what's on the other side. You are not walking into these rooms alone. The favor that accelerated you will sustain you. The momentum that started this will not run out, because it's not powered by your effort. It's powered by purpose. You'll begin to recognize that you're not ahead of schedule. You're right on time. The divine delay you once cursed was actually synchronization. You weren't waiting. God was aligning. And now the doors that are opening are not just about success. They're about assignment. They are invitations to walk in fullness, to step into everything you were born for, to move in purpose at a pace you couldn't have imagined. This is what happens when God blesses you. The timeline shifts. The rules change. The impossible becomes possible. And the only explanation you can give is that something greater than you is at work. When God blesses you, it's never just about material gain or visible success. It's about transformation. It's about alignment with a greater purpose that reshapes every part of who you are and how you live. The signs don't always come in the form of applause or attention. Often they arrive quietly, a deeper calm in your spirit, a sudden shift in your circle, a series of closed doors that lead to the right one flinging open. You begin to walk lighter, think clearer, and trust more deeply. Not because everything is easy, but because something within you knows that you're finally on the right path. These blessings may challenge you. They may stretch your faith, cost you comfort, and push you into the unknown. But they will also elevate you. They will introduce you to a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you've ever been. You'll see the evidence in the peace you carry, the opportunities that find you, the people who are drawn to your light, and the resilience that refuses to quit. You were never meant to chase blessing. You were meant to become someone who attracts them because of your faith, your obedience, your alignment, and your willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. When that happens, you don't just step into favor, you become a vessel for it. And that is when you'll know God is not just blessing what you do. He's blessing who you are becoming.